Bonjour again. That's better. My name's Steve Smith, and for over 20 years, I've been traveling to France with Rick, teaching him the art of fine living, or trying, while he taught me the science of guidebook writing. During that time, we've assembled a variety of guidebooks just on France, phrasebook, maps, and other tools to help you navigate this beautiful country. And it is a beautiful country. France is filled with so many icons, the must-see sites. And my talk today is designed to help you sort through some of those, and hopefully come up with a good plan of action for the region that I'm calling Paris in the north of France. I'll focus on Paris in day trips, as well as the regions immediately around Paris, the Loire Valley, Normandy, and Burgundy today. Let's get oriented first. So here you are. Let's see if I can work this thing. Here's the country. I think it's purple. I'm colorblind, but I'm pretty sure that's purple. France is in the center of Western Europe, right? It doesn't suffer from the extreme heat of the south, nor cold of the north, so things grow well here, like wine, like food. Think of it that way. And it really works to be a year-round vacation reasonably well. It's about 700 miles from top to bottom, right? 600 from Paris to Nice, by the way, the heart of the French Riviera from Paris, and about 700 miles across. It's about 80% the size of Texas. To give you more orientation, to go from Paris to Madrid or Rome is the same distance, roughly, from going from Seattle to San Francisco. You can cover a lot in small space, right? So if it's 600 miles from Paris to Nice, that's most of the country of France. And if you've got a week, you can do good things in that week, right? Speaking of which, and it reminds me that one of the greatest reasons to go to France, I think, one of the greatest benefits is the great variety that is offered in this country, 80% the size of Texas, for you to experience. Bookended from the brilliant city of Paris to the north, to the sunny port city of Nice in the southern eastern corner, you'll experience pastoral landscapes of Normandy, rock-sculpted villages of Provence in this time. If you venture to the west, you'll find the Atlantic Ocean, one of two distinctly different coastlines France offers. Its rugged coast on the Atlantic, and of course bordered to the south is France by the warm Mediterranean, and villages like Collioure here, right almost to the Spanish border. And if it's Europe's tallest peaks you must stare at face to face, you have to go to France, not Switzerland. For the tallest peaks in Europe are in France, and you'll go to Chamonix, the site, by the way, of the first Winter Olympics, and stare at Mont Blanc here, roughly 1,000 feet taller than our Mount Rainier. But France has two other mountain ranges that are often overlooked by travelers, and that's too bad. The Pyrenees, the southern Pyrenees in particular here, harbor or hide Cathar castles, romantic castles from the 1200s, and form the border with Spain to the south and west, whereas south-central mountain ranges, like the Massif Central, are home to great canyons, Europe's greatest canyon. This one's called the Grand Canyon of France, the Gorge of Verdun, often unknown by Americans. This is the playground, really, for Europeans, is southern France, for natural activities, rock climbing, kayaking, rafting, this kind of thing. And by understanding the landscape, you can understand why. France has, every region in France brings forward its own culture and cuisine. Traveling in France, then, is like traveling through a variety of countries by staying in the same language, currency, of course. From one day, for example, you can be in the far northeast corner of Alsace, quaffing liters of beer next to kids in Lederhausen, and dining on sauerkraut smothered in ham and sausage, where everybody's last name is German, but their first given name is French, in Alsace. Right? Then the next day, you can cross over to the northwestern corner of France, to Brittany, where the lads look more Irish, don't they, than French? And they are. Share more in common than with Wales and Scotland and Ireland, right? And the cuisine is entirely different. You won't find sauerkraut within hundreds of miles, but you will find crepes on every single menu, and apple cider to drink as the common drink for the night. To the southwestern corner of France, where the people look muy Spanish, right? Because you're near Spain. And paella, or the French would say paella, is on most menus. In France, all of these places are. To the devil-may-care, happy-go-lucky, what-me-worry, trains never on time, southern eastern part of France that's influenced by its bordering country, Italy. A fun place to, and really until the 1870s, the city of Nice and the whole Riviera was, in fact, run by Italians. and where you can find then fresh pasta in windows. And this is about the only place in France that you can find fresh pasta, in the Riviera. So influenced is it by bordering Italy. But France, I love this image, I love this restaurant, is more than just a beautiful place to eat well and to eat differently. By the way, that just reminds me, the beauty of French cuisine is not just that it's better than somebody else's, it's the variety that you get in this country. Compare it to almost anywhere else in the world, in one country, to have such a range of cuisine within a few hours' drive of each destination, right? But it's more than just beautiful place to dine out, as I say. For, in many ways, France is the yardstick of human accomplishment. In many ways, you can trace the whole of Western civilization by going to France, from the greatest cave art, paintings you'll find 15 to 17,000 years old in the Dordogne Valley, to Roman ruins in the southern part of France, primarily, that rival anything in Italy, and feudal fortresses to rival anything else that Europe has to offer. It was in France that Gothic architecture was born. So you'll see a lot of examples of great Gothic churches. I'll speak about many of them today. And of course, palaces, grand palaces like Versailles, or Versailles-inspired palaces like Vaux-le-Vicomte that I'm showing you here, at a time when France was the cultural heartbeat of Europe. When this chateau was built in the 17th century, imagine that France had 18 million residents. 18 million. At that same time, England had 5 million. There's a reason why there's so much to do and see in this country. They were top dog. They were the United States, you could say, in that day and age. And that makes for good sightseeing. Many people would have loved to have visited France and all those great sights and eat that great food and drink their fine wine, were it not for the French, right? That has been a deterrent that I've had to overcome with it, making a career out of this. And I think largely due to waiters just like this. I will confess, the French are serious people, right? And there's so much to talk about the French to explain this to you that I don't have time, but suffice it to say that just doing business, as service is not always first. Other things matter to them more in life than just giving you good service. You'll see this when you're there. And don't take it personally. If you order white wine with your steak, this is the reaction you're going to get from this waiter. He's not mad at you. He may look like it. He just doesn't understand. It doesn't compute to him that anybody would order white wine with their steak. So by slowing down, I want to encourage you to slow down. It's a message for today. France rewards travelers who slow down. Slow down. Walk at a goose's pace, right? And savor slice-of-life scenes like this. And give the benefit of the doubt to the people. Read the book that Rick and I have co-authored, and you'll understand maybe a little bit of what's behind the waiter's attitude, and your hotel clerks as well. And you'll come more likely in contact with Jerry Garcia, who's been born again selling goat cheese in the southern part of France, right? Pretty good likelihood. The point is, slow down. Take time to taste his cheese. Again, France rewards the traveler who slows down. Take your itinerary and throw every other day out the window, something like that, and add a third night or a fourth night, however you choose to do it. But you'll see what I mean once you're there, right? The success of our books, to a certain extent, Rick and I feel, is determined by how well we help you connect with a culture. We give you a variety of ways, from guides in every single city and almost village throughout the book, like let Sylvie here in Nîmes take you through her wonderful Roman arena, or let Michel guide you through his favorite vineyards. Every so often, hire somebody or take a cooking class with Claude and let him explain to you an insight. They all speak fluent English, or they have translators who do, who enable you. Pepper your trip every so often, some kind of something like this. I list them throughout the book, and I hope you take advantage of them, because they do, and indeed, these people allow you to get beyond the stereotypes and to get to know the culture a little bit better. Traveling around France is really as good as it gets in Europe today. You have two good choices. I wouldn't recommend driving in a lot of countries, but I will in a moment in France, and rail travel is just as good. The state-of-the-art bullet train TGV service connects almost every city of any size at all to Paris, and with each other, and local trains take over where those leave off, covering the destinations in smaller towns. Now, I'm reminded that by showing you the TGV train, there is, and rail passes, by the way, in France are a good value. They aren't in Italy comparatively, but the French government chooses to subsidize them in a way that makes them a good value when traveling to France. So consider a rail pass when traveling to France. But I would warn you, any train booked, any trip on the TGV, if you have a rail pass, they have limited the number of seats for rail pass users because you're cheaper, because you've got a subsidized pass. And so there are fewer seats available for those bullet trains, and they must be reserved. I book those ahead of time before I go. Maybe Paris, Avignon, or Paris to Nice, you see what I mean? And then Nice back to Bordeaux, something like that, a triangle of those bullet trains. And then I use my rail pass for the days when I don't need the bullet train. You'll be safer, and you can do that. We can help you from our office here, and you can do it online with the French website, the SNCF website that works well. Buses take you where trains leave off to smaller, even smaller destinations, and best of all, no other country in Europe does these minivan tours as they do in France. Because so much of this country that you'll be visiting is rural. There's Paris and there's Nice, and maybe there's Lyon that you'll visit as cities. Everything else, I guarantee you, small town, chateau, vineyards, countryside, hill towns, and the such, right? They are hard to get to if you don't have a car. So the need for these minivan excursion trips has arisen over the years. It's, even if you're driving, a great way to spend a day. Get out of the car, join a minivan tour. This one's going to the caves and castles of the Dordogne region. You'll have usually a college student, somebody sometimes a little bit older, speaking English to spend the day with and ask any question you have about the funny society of France. You see what I mean? And they are terrific for the D-Day beaches. I'll talk about them later, for vineyard tours, for all sorts of uses. Even if you're driving, consider a minivan tour one day at some point of your trip. You'll just join 7 other travelers if it's sold out. They take up to 8 usually. I mentioned before, car rental works great in France because so much of your trip is rural. They drive at the same side of the road that we do, on smaller roads, smaller cars. Rent a smaller car than you think you need. That's good advice. If you rent an automatic, they're hard to get, right? It'll be a bigger car almost automatically. I didn't plan that one. That worked out well, though. Rent weekly unlimited mileage from the States before you go. Or if you're going 17 days or longer, lease, consider the lease option. It's a good deal. You save the 20% sales tax. It's a swinging deal if you're going to be renting a car that long. Right? I list all those options in the guidebook. If all you want to do is rent a car here for a day or two, or there for a day or two, wait till you're in France and just rent on a daily basis. I list car rental agencies throughout the country that allow you to do that. You see the rent structures are such for rental cars that a week, I don't know, if it's 4 days or longer, turns out to be a decent deal. Otherwise, if it's shorter than that, just rent on the spot. Gas is twice the price that it is in the United States, but the cars get twice the fuel efficiency. Trust me, and you're not going that far. That whole country is 700 miles top to bottom. Your budget for gas is not going to be that much. Of course, the beauty of driving in France is passing by nonstop scenes like this. The serendipity, or the ability to have serendipity and pull over, and just watch the sunset over a village like this, tucked in the Arrière-Pays, just above Nice, is marvelous. And that's the beauty and the flexibility, of course, that a car provides. France offers a great range of hotel accommodations. 0 to 5 stars are the ratings that hotels are classified by. Our book focuses on 2 and 3 star hotels. This is a 2-star hotel at the Hotel Dauphin in Honfleur with comfortable rooms, nothing fancy, perfectly good, for about 80 euros a night on the average throughout France, 25% more in Paris. Right? That's about $100 in US dollars. 3-star hotels, again, where we find they're worthwhile, tend to offer more charm. Not always, but sometimes, and more character in the rooms and maybe larger rooms as well. Really, there's very little difference between 2 and 3-star hotels generically. You decide. 4-star hotels. Is this show out yet? Have you seen this show yet? Yeah, because Rick and I filmed here just, I think it was last year, and we were filmed having a dinner at the Chateau de Pré. 4-star hotels every so often are worthwhile. If you've ever wanted to sleep in a 750-year-old chateau, they're there in France to do so, from $150 to $250 a night for a room. You won't do it every night, but maybe you splurge, and then you make up for it. First of all, you enjoy the sumptuous comfort of sleeping in a chateau. You make up for it maybe by sleeping in bed and breakfasts every so often. In France, bed and breakfasts are great deals. They're called chambre d'hôte. And in this one, I look for characteristic ones when I list them in the book. This is a 16th century mill house near Rocamadour in the central part of the country. They're about the price of a 2-star hotel, a little bit less, but what they offer are free breakfasts. Breakfast can get expensive, particularly for families of 4, because the average price is $12 to $14 per breakfast. You can see that if you get it for free at a bed and breakfast, and most do include them, that's a good deal. And very few hotels include breakfast in France in your price. Or you can, for every 4-star hotel that you sleep in, you can sleep in this sterile, by the roadside chain hotel for 36 euros a night for a double room. That's about $40, something like that. These modern chain hotels are great budget savers. They exist on freeway road stops, as I was mentioning, but also on the outskirts of cities throughout Europe and towns. And if You know, character doesn't matter to you, but price does. It's hard to beat these modern hotels, right? The rage these days throughout France, particularly Paris, are apartments to rent on a weekly basis, like this one in Paris, or Nice, or Lyon, or Avignon. I list apartment rental agencies, clearinghouses. Of course, you know of VRBO probably. People, I like that this is becoming so popular because it means you're slowing down. You're choosing to spend a week in one site. Same thing throughout the countryside in France. There are over 15,000 gîtes, or country homes for rent. My family has one in Burgundy, where I hang my beret in research season. We rent it out. There are great values. Apartment rental in cities doesn't tend to be any cheaper than 3-star hotels, but you get the refrigerator and the kitchen that does save you money and allows you to go local. If you like going to markets and buying things, you know, produce markets, you have a refrigerator to put the stuff in. You can try different cheeses, you see, and not have to throw it away at the end of the day. That's a great value of such accommodations. In the countryside, you get that same advantage, plus they're a fraction of the price of any hotel. I think the average place that I know, I mean, our place rents for $600 a night. And it's 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, right? Well, you have 3 couples, you can divide that up. You can see what I mean. On a weekly basis, $600 for a week. That's a pretty good deal. So that gives you an indication. Eating out. So gîtes, the generic name for those for country rental home in France is GITES. There are a variety of sources and ways to find them. We list the websites in the book, that as well as you can find your own through VRBO, I know. Eating out in France should be a joy. It better be. That's one of the reasons I suppose you came. Breakfast, I was reminded of when I got this image of this boulangerie. These are your mainstay. If you're ever just sort of out of luck or tired or whatever, go to a boulangerie. If your hotel is offering 20 euro breakfasts, and some do, those 4-star hotels do, by the way, the more stars you get with a hotel room, the higher the breakfast price for the same breakfast. Now, thankfully, the breakfasts are pretty good in French hotels these days. Uniformly, they're buffet breakfasts. You may get a boiled egg, yogurt, muesli, fruit, etc. So you're not just getting a croissant for that price. But still, who wants to pay that much money when you can go to the corner bakery and sit with locals for a third of that price or half the price and have that croissant and café au lait? Maybe that's what you want to do. Never hesitate to leave the hotel and go find the local bakery for breakfast if breakfast isn't included in your hotel. Same thing for lunch. Every bakery I know, virtually everyone, sells very good sandwiches. They even sell paninis, baguettes, all sorts of lunch options, fresh quiche for about 5 euros. Great to just park yourself on a bench, have a cheap lunch, quick, maybe you're in a hurry. They work out to be my mainstay when I'm researching and updating guidebooks in France. Otherwise, for restaurants, the mainstays are cafes. Cafes and brasseries litter every village. You'll find them anywhere. Now, you can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner at certain hours. Brasseries normally are different from cafes because they are supposed to be serving hot food all day. Not always the case, but usually the case. Cafes, noon to 2 roughly for lunch, and then 6 o'clock on for dinner. The good thing about cafes that I'm showing you here is you can order anything you want. If all you want is a bowl of French onion soup or a salad for dinner, go to a cafe. Don't go to a restaurant. A restaurant, you're expected to order a main course. Of course, you see what I mean? The value with children in a cafe that usually opens earlier, like at 6 o'clock, than 7 or 7:30 restaurant openings is also important to families. Bistros, little restaurants like this, are the mainstay of the restaurants, recommendations we use in our guidebooks. Chalkboard, menus for a la carte choices. Remember, you can order a la carte in France, or you can order a fixed price menu. 2 to 3 course fixed price menus in France are called menu. So if you ask for a menu when you walk into a restaurant, you may have already ordered dinner, right? A la carte, carte means menu in French, from the carte, a la carte translates that way. Either way, you can choose. Commonly, I ordered the 2 or 3 course menu, fixed price menu. My wife orders 1 course. And these days, there's been a resurgence of fresh products and cuisines in France, in French restaurants. Trust the restaurants that I recommend. Use your own judgment as well, of course. Don't just go by the ones we do. There was a period of time where, and it's still an issue, where frozen products were being used. It was the heresy of French dining. And it was the buzz. Nowadays, I think you'll do better. Lovely, this is a 20 euro 2-course menu. First course, just at an average bistro, and a main course like this. You can also order plat du jour. Any restaurant, you can just order the plat du jour, the plate of the day that's garnished, much like this one, for 15 to 20 euros. That's all you probably need. That's what my wife does. I order the 3-course menu, then she steals my dessert. You see, the balance of couples works pretty well that way, and you see what I mean. But understand, too, when you're ordering in a French restaurant, this is important to know. I just saved you the price of this class. Wait a minute, it's free. Tax and tip are included in every restaurant anywhere. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. They know that the previous Americans left 20%. Every French waiter is tipped an average of 14 to 15%, included in the price of your item, whether it's a menu or whatever. Right? If you choose to tip, I think it's nice, no more than 5%. If that waiter, because you're harder to understand, you're a foreigner, you took more work than the average Frenchman, you ordered white wine with your steak, tip if you want, tip up to 5%. Right? That's it. Most of my French friends don't tip. You can't even leave a tip on a Visa bill. It's not, you can't. There's no place for it. You see, it's culturally not normal to do so. So I've given you a license now. The nice thing about the you know exactly what your bill is going to be. It's like going to Oregon and you don't have to tip. Tax is included. This is pretty good, right? I like to list formal restaurants too for moments of splurge when I find that they're worthwhile. And throughout the book, you'll find places like this. And they'll be closer to $50 or $60 for a 4-course menu. And every so often, I think you should allow yourself this kind of splurge. Remember, he or she who comes home with the most money doesn't win. Right? Allow yourself every so often, if it sounds appealing, go for it. Or you have your own recommendation from a dear friend. I think you'll find it very worthwhile. Credit card usage in Paris, in France, is a big issue today. For Americans traveling there, if you don't have a chip and PIN card, one of these, you can see the gold pin there. All the European card banks use them these days. American Express does work, but your card won't, unless it's American Express, work at automated machines. So if you're buying metro tickets, and fewer metro stations in Paris are staffed, or if you're buying train tickets from the automatic machines, or most importantly to drivers paying tolls on the freeway, which get up to 20 and 30 euros sometimes, you'll need to use bills. They work, your bills work, but you don't always have a bill on you. You may have a 50-euro bill, they're not accepted. Under 50 euro bills are accepted. It just becomes a headache. If you can get one of these chip and PIN cards before you go to France, you'll find your life a lot easier. ATM machines work just like ours do. Charging hotels, charging car rental works just like it does. The only difference is this chip thing that becomes a headache for American travelers. For a lot of people, not for a lot. For some people, all of that sounds like fun, but a lot of work, and they'd rather leave the planning to somebody else. And they'd rather just go on a trip and share their experience and maybe their bottle of wine or bottles of wine with other travelers. For them, we offer tours. Other people would rather keep that bottle of wine to themselves. For them, we write guidebooks, right? And that's a joy. But we do offer tours. And in the tours that we offer are sort of a combination for people who want a little bit of organization and also free time to explore on their own. And I love the tours that we do. We are 25 average in a group and a 48-seat passenger bus. Almost all of our tours use buses to get around, just like this. The reason to take a tour is not because you can't do it on your own. Anybody in this room can navigate France on their own. It's, do you want to put the time and energy into that navigation? Is it worth your time and effort? Or how much do you really want to learn on your trip? Because certainly the combination of our guide, who is schooled and educated and trained by Rick to give meaningful, important history, and local experts that we pepper the trip with throughout to bring to life those specific monuments that are important to have a local guide at, whether it's Notre Dame here, or Sainte-Chapelle, or Mont Saint-Michel, for example. That combination is best for learning. Take a tour with a company like ours if learning matters a lot. And also, we like to leave, I mentioned before, you alone after giving you an orientation, an explanation of Impressionist art, to enjoy the art on your own. We don't dominate your time on our tours. About a third of your time is free for this kind of purpose. But we do take advantage of group activities to do potluck picnics like this. There are 400 different kinds of cheeses in France. We can make a dent with 25 people in those 400 cheeses, but you traveling on your own would find that pretty hard to do, you see. So there are joys of group travel that we take advantage of, and dinners at night too, restaurants that we select from our guidebooks. We have such an advantage organizing tours and writing guidebooks. It's like a cheating advantage over other tour companies that hire middle people to find their restaurants and their hotels for them. Rick would never allow that, right? And we use family-run hotels, as I mentioned, for the most part found in our guidebooks, like this one in Paris, the Hotel Londres Eiffel, where all of our Paris city tours stay. We have 5 different itineraries. We have a week's city stay in Paris at that very hotel I just showed you. Lovely hotel, great neighborhood, right near the Eiffel Tower. 11 days, Paris in the heart of France, which is more or less the region I'll cover today with you. 13 days, Western France, from the Loire to the south of France. 14 days, best of Eastern France. I like to call this vineyards and villages because it starts in the Champagne district, runs through the World War I battlefield of Verdun, 3 nights in Alsace and Colmar, 2 nights in Burgundy's wine capital of Beaune, 2 nights in Chamonix high in the Alps, 3 nights in Hilltown in Provence, and ending with 1 night in Marseille, which has a great airport. We also offer a tour that mixes Spain and France, with just 2 nights in France, the best of the Basque country, starting in Bayonne, France, and ending with 7 days, split in Spain between Pamplona, San Sebastian, and Bilbao. This is a great tour, by the way. If you only have 9 days, I love this tour. It goes all of about 100 miles from one end to the other and takes 9 days to do it. Your bang for buck, your time in cities and places, is great on this tour, naturally, because you're not spending much time on buses. All of this information is provided in our tour brochure that you have in front of you, or hopefully in the lobby today. Today, let's get started. I'm going to take you on for 4 nights, 5 nights in Paris, then off to the countryside for a quick whirl through my favorite destinations in Paris and the heart of France. Paris. Yes. It's a flat city with a river running through it. The area you're looking at is the central part of the city. Right? 3 million people live here, and this is all of the sightseeing that you want to do in this area. It looks good because of the man-made beauty and the limit of height restrictions on the buildings of 8 stories. That limit makes the city a joy to walk through, and you will be walking more than you think, than you plan. Bring good shoes, because it is a pleasure to walk in this city. And the city works well in all season, from festivals along the riverfront in the summer to the lights that are going to be going up soon for holiday celebrations. Paris works well in any season. In fact, I love the winter in Paris so much. When my wife and I lived there for 5 years, not too long ago, that was our favorite season. You feel like you get your city back, as you could imagine, right? But then it's also not just depressing. Climate's something like Seattle's, but it's so beautifully decorated and so beautifully lit that for you to take advantage of the quieter museums, the quieter cafes and such, isn't a bad idea, and cheaper airfares. We even have a whole chapter devoted to winter travel in Paris in our Paris book. Hotel rooms are small in Paris. Get used to it. Well, this is a single, I'll say that. But they are smaller than you're used to, right? It reminds me to remind you to book your room early. We have good values. We recommend lots of good values in the book. The earlier you book, the better chance you have of getting those values. We list hotels in 4 different neighborhoods, because I'd rather have an average hotel in a cool neighborhood than a cool hotel in a crummy neighborhood. And believe me, those exist, and you can find them on the internet anytime. How often does TripAdvisor recommend the neighborhood? You have to filter through to be a cool neighborhood for us to list your hotel in the first place, whether it's the Rue Claire area near the Seine River and the Eiffel Tower, or the hip medieval Marais district, or the lovely gardens of Luxembourg, the Luxembourg Gardens, or the budget neighborhood we list, Montmartre on the Hill, for usually younger people who need that budget $30 room, $40 room. We list those 4 neighborhoods and support you with lots of hotels, restaurants, bakeries, flower shops, and the like, so you don't have to leave your neighborhood to go out to dinner at night. There's no reason in Paris. There's so many good restaurants in every neighborhood. It's silly to get on that metro, because trust me, there's a great restaurant with the kind of cuisine you're looking for in your neighborhood, right? For sightseeing purposes, the Paris book, as well as for hotel recommendations and restaurants, 2015 just out. I haven't even seen the real copy of it yet, but I think it's in our travel center now. This is all you need for a great trip for sightseeing in Paris with, I'll back up, with 19 self-guided tours of museums and neighborhoods that Rick and Jean Openshaw, another co-author of this book, and I put together and update every single year. These books are painstakingly updated every year. So you can try to manage on the 2014 edition, and frankly, the difference to your specific trip probably won't be that great, although one good recommendation or change in restaurant or hotel makes all the difference and pays for the price of that, whatever, $20 book that you just tried to save money on by using last year's edition, right? I do get royalties. 4 of those guided tours, 19 self-guided tours, that's more than time. You can't, unless you're staying for several weeks. You'd have to really work to go beyond the guided tours that we have. And Rick is clever, Jean is clever, smart. I think you like the way we do our guided tours. 4 of them have been turned into audio tours. Rick's voice, recorded, walking you through the Louvre Museum, historic Paris, Versailles, or the Orsay Museum. In many cases where we don't have audio tours, the site will, and this is throughout France, by the way. You can look onto the website of the Palace of the Popes in Avignon, for example, in southeastern France, and download their audio tour. Now, it's a British voice, and it's probably a little bit drier, but it works. And so with your tablet or your smartphone, you can wander right in and have a self-guided tour for free, commonly, by using their audio tours. That's the latest advance, it seems to me, in touring. I love private guide, hiring guides. Now, most of the guides I like, you can hire private guides or guide services like Paris Walks is my favorite, where you just get on their website, find out what tours. They offer 7 different tours almost on a daily basis. This gets you a guide to show you, somebody you can ask questions to show you an area that a part of Paris or a museum you want to know more deeply. Paris Walks offers different tours, for example, and so do other companies I recommend on a daily basis. You just find out where they start and show up, and probably with 15 other people, whoever gathers, pay about $20 for a 2 to 3 hour walk. That's a great value. I don't suggest you do it all the time because we have enough walking tours in our books to keep you busy, but every so often consider that. And consider this slide when you contemplate going to Versailles. The big deal in Paris now, and the reason you're here is to learn what's going on, the big deal are the crowds at key sites. The rest of France, really not too much of a problem, but Paris, wow. Versailles, the Louvre, Orsay Museum, places like that are being almost overrun, I would use the word, in some cases, because not Americans, but those countries, Russia, they call them BRIC countries, India, China, are now traveling in a big way. And they like to go to those famous places, and we have to make room for them, right? And there are ways of making room for them. So trust the strategy in the book. It's more important than ever not to arrive at Tuesday at Versailles at 11 o'clock in the morning, because it was closed on Monday, you see. Everybody's going on Tuesday, not an original brainstorm on your part. Good tips in the book for when to make the most of your time. Versailles, here's a great tip if you want to go see Versailles, because you're going to face, this is the security line. This isn't the ticket line. Everybody has to stand in that line to have their bag checked. Everybody. But if you go at 8:30, there's no line. You line up maybe 8:45, there may be 20 people, something like that. Or show up at 2 in the afternoon when all the day trips from Paris, all those buses taking those people from those other countries are gone and back into the city of Paris. No line. Or take a guided tour at the heart of the busiest time. You don't have to go in that line. You go into a side room, go on a guided tour of Versailles, no wait for €7 extra. Is that €7 extra above the entrance price, getting a guided tour of the chateau, worth avoiding an hour and a half in line? Of course it is. Wow. So read the book. Good. I made the point. But museum passes. The city has great museum passes, 2, 4, and 6-day combinations for anybody 18 years and over. You want this. Under 18, you're free, so no need for them. Your kids can travel for free. The question isn't whether you want a pass, it's whether you want the 2-day version, the 4-day, or the 6-day version. You can also use 2 2-day versions if you want and separate your visits by 4 or 5 days because they are consecutive, is the museum pass. And it covers most of the sightseeing you want to do in Paris. The most important site it probably doesn't cover is the Eiffel Tower. Okay? Here's the city, the lay of the land in Paris. Here's the river running east to west. Anything to your left is the left bank, to your right is the right bank, and this is the center part of the city that will form the basis of your sightseeing. From the Eiffel Tower, to give you a sense of distance, the level walk all the way to the Orsay Museum is about an hour at a relaxed pace. It's not that big. Downtown Paris is rather small. You really can walk a lot of places, right? And getting around is a breeze with the subway system here. It's the most complete subway system I know in the Western world. You are never far from a metro stop. Adventurous travelers or with a little bit of adventure, I like to recommend the buses because it's a shame to be underground in this beautiful city all the time. And the buses do work well. They take you longer on the average than the subway, but you get to see what you're going by on the way. 10 ride tickets, these carnets, you buy little booklets of 10 of them are the best way to go for most people. If you're staying a week or longer and your sequence of days works out well, you can buy a Metro pass. It's called a Navigo. But for most of us, it becomes a bit of a headache because it's Monday to Sunday validation only. And for your trip to balance right into that, that's a little bit dicey. You can split these tickets between different travelers. So if you're only going for a day and your wife wants 5 and you want 5, you buy 10 tickets and you divide them by 2. They're very flexible in that manner. A Metro pass, of course, can't be. Can't be divided. They're used on buses or trains. You can't transfer between the two, though. Bike riding is the trend, the rage in Paris these days with a bike loaner system called the Vélib, with 14,000 bicycles that you can pick up at one site and drop at another for couple of dollars, for nothing really. And bike tours and people using bikes now because they have added 300 kilometers of bike-only lanes in the city of Paris, and all bike riders get to use the bus-only lanes as well, making a change in the last 5 years of enormous consequence for somebody who enjoys biking just for fun or taking a loop for a scenic ride through Paris. Right? Here are my 4 favorite days to spend in Paris. The 5th would be a day trip to Versailles, by the way. Right? Anybody who hasn't been before, assuming you haven't been before or it's been a long time, start where the city started, on the Ile de la Cité, right? And enjoy the view from the top of Notre Dame that I'm standing up here when I took this picture. In a moment, I'll give you more detail on that. You'll start with Notre Dame. The cathedral started in 1165, not finished until 1345. Can you imagine that? 200 years almost it took to build a building. That's astonishing, right? Well, that was the mindset in the Middle Ages. You'll learn more about that probably in Rick's art class tonight. Start here. There's always a line in the front, but it moves very fast. Tour the inside. It's dark. It's crowded. Let your eyes adjust. Don't worry about the other people. And take our self-guided tour of the interior of Notre Dame to enjoy this beautiful church dedicated to Mary, Notre Dame, Our Lady. Only a few blocks away, the Sainte-Chapelle chapel that you're looking at here was built in the middle of that construction of Notre Dame in the middle 1200s, and it took only 6 years to build this one because it's the private chapel of the king. The only king to be sainted, Saint Louis, in France, because he managed to get his hands on the crown of thorns. So Sainte-Chapelle is famous for being built to house the crown of thorns of Jesus, right? And if the purpose of Gothic architecture is to stretch the walls taller and create space to provide stained glass windows in them with symbols to tell stories of the Bible to the illiterate masses, which they were in the Middle Ages, then this has got to be the ultimate triumph of Gothic architecture that you're looking at. You'll see other great examples of stained glass, but nothing so pure and so complete as at Sainte-Chapelle. It's included in the Museum Pass. Museum and Monument Pass is the official name. There are long lines to get in, I'm warning you, right? So strategize the lines. Read our book before you go. Don't just wander out at 11 in the morning to Sainte-Chapelle. Get there 15 minutes early usually does the trick. And again, the line is all security check because the chapel is located in the law courts area. So they're very specific and very rigorous about checking your bags when you go here. There are concerts every day of the year in Sainte-Chapelle, and I highly recommend them. If you even miss it in the daytime, it's floodlit from the outside, so you still get the sense of the stained glass you see when you go at night. We even offer deals in our book, people who offer our readers deals for well-priced seats at these concerts at Sainte-Chapelle. Then get out. After seeing these 2 great monuments to the Gothic era and the High Middle Ages, stroll the area around. You've done your important work for the day, or at least for the moment. Cross over to the Latin Quarter, the other left bank side of the river. So named Latin because this was the location of the earliest universities in France in the early 1200s, where the only language used to teach at university level was Latin. Some of the oldest buildings and the coziest, cutest sites, and memories of Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway at shops like Shakespeare and Company. Bring Americans here on a daily basis. It's a fun place just to sort of wander. And if you have energy, I would say, on this very first day of your historic walk, stop at the Cluny Museum, Steve's favorite unknown museum in Paris. It's the museum to the Middle Ages of Paris, right? Included in the Museum Pass. Here's the perfect use of a Museum Pass. I didn't mention this before, and I should have. The advantage of a Museum Pass is twofold, by the way, threefold. One, in the end, it's cheaper. Right? You'll save money by using the pass. 2, you get into sites more quickly by not having to stand in ticket lines, and often ticket lines are longer than security lines. 3, you can go in for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and not feel guilty because it was free to you anyway. And this is an example of that kind of museum. The Museum of the Middle Ages is most famous for its Lady in the Unicorn tapestries, a series of 6 world-famous tapestries that are really lovely about the mythological creature, the unicorn. But my favorite part of this museum, the Cluny Museum, and I just go here almost, and I'd be good with this, is seeing 14 original panels of stained glass from Sainte-Chapelle Church at eye level. You can touch them. You see, stained glass is usually so high above you that you don't get the sense of the thickness or really the crudeness of the cuts. But in this museum, you have 14 of the original 800-year-old panels right there for you to see. You also have a variety of statues from the outside of Notre Dame Cathedral right there for you to touch and see. Well, no, you're not supposed to touch them, but you know what I mean when I say that. All right. And end your day. This is all a very short distance at the Luxembourg Garden. I mentioned this before. I like to use this area for hotels as well as restaurants. But going local, grab a green chair, they're free, and watch Parisians' daily life play out in front of you. Parks in Paris are beautiful places to spend time. Day 2, Louvre Museum, and the Champs-Elysees. I try to combine heavyweight sites with outdoor stuff, because, boy, you can only take so much of the heavyweight site stuff in a day, right? So start at the Museum of the Louvre. 30,000 works of art. This is a great inventory of Western civilization, one of the great fine arts museums of the world, of course, right? It opens at 9, closes at 6 most days, right? In it, you'll be treated to everything from Egyptian art, of pre-Egyptian, to the great classics from the Winged Victory, to Venus de Milo, to Mona Lisa, who is smaller than you think if you haven't seen her before. And I have this slide also to show you the crowds. I mean, it's hard to get close to Mona Lisa at certain times of day. Strategize your sightseeing times. If the museum opens at 9, consider going early. Go at 8:30, wander around, get a coffee. There's cafes around, and then be in line at 8:40, something like that. You'll be amazed at how well you do. Or better, 2 nights a week, the museum is open till 9:30. 9:30, Wednesdays and Fridays, year-round. This extends your sightseeing day and avoids crowds. This is when I go in to update our self-guided tour through the Louvre Museum. And by the way, I love our self-guided tour. You can take a guided tour of the Louvre. I think it's a fine idea, but I actually think the audio tour that Rick does, that's the recording of our written tour in our book, is perfect for the Louvre Museum. So allow yourself that. Have a light dinner beforehand or snacks, and then do a Parisian dinner at 9:30 afterwards. Very typical, right? And avoid all the crowds that way. Then subway to the top if you went in the morning to the museum. The good thing about the museum pass, by the way, is also the Louvre is so overwhelming. You can go back time and again because your museum pass is good all day long for the number of days you have it. And maybe you missed a wing or part of this museum that you wanted to see. The advantage of the pass is then multiplied. Subway to the top of the Champs-Elysees where the Arc de Triomphe caps it. Climb the 400 steps to the top for a brilliant view over Paris. In our guidebook, I list 7 of my favorite views over the city of Paris, and this is certainly one of them from the Arc de Triomphe, built in the mid-1800s as a commemoration of a great battle victory by Emperor Napoleon. Right? He died during its construction, but they finished it, thankfully, and you can get to the top with great views straight down the Champs-Elysees, and there is the Louvre Museum right there. You see how they combine with a straight metro shot, no transfer needed to get to the top, then sashay your way down that grand avenue, stopping to pay more money than you really should for an espresso coffee. You can actually spend $14 at the most famous cafe on the Champs-Elysees. It's called Fouquet's, for a cup of espresso. $14, 10 euros. Is that, all right, it's $12, whatever. Is that ridiculous? But it is the coolest, most elegant, where all of the movie stars go place. And so what? One time in your life you let splurge, right? And then you write postcards there and you stay for hours because the waiter won't ask for your bill until you're ready to go. Then that $14 or $12 is well spent, you see, amortized over time. Did I convince you? I don't think so. There are cheaper cafes. Stop, though, to have a coffee on the Champs-Elysees. Shop in the car windows, all the great car dealerships. I took my image out because I have to move this along. But it's a fun avenue to shop, to just stroll and gawk. I love it at night. In fact, if I had to choose between day and night, I'd go to the Champs-Elysees at night. Everything is open. The Arc de Triomphe is open till 11 o'clock almost every day of the year. Go at night if you have to choose, by the way. And you saw earlier, soon it will be lit with all the trees. And they do this kind of thing in different seasons as well. Now, the Christmas lighting is the best, but there are other decorations that appear on the Champs-Elysees that are fun to see. I love day 3. I love Impressionist Paris Day because Impressionism was, of course, birthed in France. And one of the birthing places would have been up on the hill of Montmartre, where you can go see where these guys lived and mixed it up in the cafes, and then go see 3 great art museums that show the best example in the world of Impressionist art in one day. So start your morning going up to the Sacré-Cœur, right? The top of Montmartre, the village. The one real hill in Paris. The church itself was built, not completed until the early 1900s. It's sort of neo-Byzantine, I guess, bright white. It's really not that interesting on the inside, but it's free at least. We do a self-guided tour through it. It's worth seeing. It's crowded, but prepare to be a little bit underwhelmed from the inside. I think the outside is beautiful, and the view from the steps in front is miraculous, but the inside isn't so great. Then get out and enjoy the village. We do a good self-guided tour of Montmartre district, where this area that I mentioned that drew famous artists like Auguste Renoir, you can pass his home. He loved painting the people of Montmartre, and they were interesting to him because it was a separate village in this day and age. Until 1870, Montmartre was not Paris. There was a wall separating Montmartre from Paris. Rents were cheaper. Starving artists could live here and afford it, just as Auguste Renoir Vincent van Gogh, and the guy who was drawn to the Moulin Rouge, Toulouse-Lautrec, did, right? In this period of time, just before it became part of Paris, during that time frame, did they get together? Did their ideas become coalesced between them? And then in the afternoon, before the afternoon, one of the great walking tours that I think Paris Walks offer is of Montmartre. This would be the number one I'd suggest you take. If you're going to do one walking tour in Paris with a walking company, a tour company, the Montmartre tour that they do from Paris Walks, again, it's about $20, is very worthwhile. It really brings it to life, this interesting and a little bit confusing time. Then you spend your afternoon, I mentioned before, in the great art museums, enjoying the art that they produce, the product of their brilliance and their rebellious attitudes, right? The Orsay Museum here, the Orsay Museum, I think I mumbled that, pardon me, a converted rail station with the greatest single collection of Impressionist art on the inside, from all of your favorite classics. Every artist is there, Monet, Degas, Pissarro, you name it. To the post-impressionist works, of course, by Paul Cézanne, Vincent van Gogh. And then across the way, a much lesser-known museum that I love, and I think once people go, they love too, is the Orangerie Museum, just across a pedestrian footbridge and into the Tuileries Garden Park that is the gardens of the Louvre Museum. You'll find the small museum that's famous as being built to house the grand 8 water lilies of Claude Monet that he painted late in his life when he could barely see. Astonishing accomplishment. You must go here. It's part of the museum pass. It's free to you. And open a little bit later than the Orsay Museum most nights, right across the way. Down below, those 8 water lilies, that is the main floor, you'll also find small rooms of smaller works, but by the famous artists as well, for Picasso or Renoir or more Monets down below as well. It's like the Museum of Impressionist Art that's lesser known. It's a private foundation. It's not a public museum, and that's why it seems to be a little bit lesser known. End your day, your Impressionist day, if you have the energy and if you've been speedy, because this would take a lot, at the museum, dedicated to the artist who did for sculpture what Claude Monet did for painted art. The Rodin Museum. Auguste Rodin really created this emotion and romance. The greatest sculptor since Michelangelo shows himself as romantic throughout the museum that is just about done being renovated. And if you take our walking tour in our guidebook, by the way, you're going to need to adjust on your way. And the exterior with the gardens are lovely to visit as well. Day 4, going to the Marais district. This is the historic center of Jewish culture in Paris and Jewish population. A fun, real neighborhood in Paris. It's often overlooked by travelers. The Place des Vosges is its centerpiece, young, popular with locals. This neighborhood that's sort of hip and a bit edgy also is home to modern art museums like the Pompidou Center and the just opened last week Picasso Museum. I don't know if you're paying attention, but after years and years and years of closure, it's open. And between the two of them, you get a brilliant example and a great education in modern art. Between the Louvre Museum and the Impressionist museums I covered recently, and these modern art museums, your art education is fulfilled in one trip to Paris. That's astonishing, the range, the possibility. And your day at the Opera House, where you can see a great example of life from the Belle Époque period. In the late 1800s, when this was built, the show really happened before and after the opera, because of the glorious room. This looks like the Chateau at Versailles to me. This is just the lobby that you enter through before going into the opera room seats itself. It was the place to be seen in Paris's grand period of time, the Belle Époque. Next door is the Galeries Lafayette department store that shares the same architectural style and the same period. Here you can shop with the same elegance that you attended an opera with next door. Look at the dome of this department store. Think JCPenney's or Nordstrom's, right? It really is a beautiful department store. I don't think I ever buy anything there just because I'm so impressed with the store itself. And at the top, it's one of those great views of Paris that's for free that I mentioned before. I mentioned in our Paris book, we list a variety of shopping opportunities, boutique strolls and other department stores that are almost as elegant as the Galeries Lafayette. Any trip to Paris, I like to finish with the Eiffel Tower. Go at the end of the day, ideally, and a clear day. Get good luck. And go up so you still have light, see the lights come on and twinkle below, and then drop back down when it's dark, and you see it's much more beautiful at night. People, you probably have heard this. The Eiffel Tower is. Great way to visit it. The trick in doing this is that it's the most crowded visit site, I think, in Europe. And the lines are 2 hours long. You can avoid those lines by reserving in advance. You can reserve up to 3 months in advance, and I highly recommend you do it. And you can reserve a time of day and this kind of thing. It's busy. Get on that right now. The difficulty of reserving is, of course, that you don't know what the weather's going to be like. Otherwise, you wait in line or walk up, and you can walk up, at least to the first floor. Yeah. And that gets you to the elevators where you can pay again and go further up if you want to. That's your fallback if you don't reserve and you have energy to walk up the Eiffel Tower. All right. Day trips from Paris are many. Oh, I went fast. Versailles, Chartres, and Reims are the ones that I'll cover for you right now quickly. I've got to move this along because I only have 10 more minutes to cover a lot. The bullet trains allow you to get to these destinations like Versailles. Now, this isn't bullet train. This is 25-minute metro station from Paris, where you can see the great palace that Louis XIV built and virtually bankrupted the country doing so. This is when it was the heartbeat of Europe, the cultural heartbeat, the palace of wannabes for the rest of kings and queens of France. The gardens in Versailles are brilliant, as is what they call the domain of Marie Antoinette, which is where an area, about 45-minute walk from the center of the palace, where Louis XIV escaped to just get peace. And later, Louis XVI's wife, Marie Antoinette, would try to recreate a farm village that you see here called the Hamlet, to recreate her life upbringing in Austria. Another day trip from Paris. You need to allow all day for Versailles. And please read our notes on avoiding crowds there, as I mentioned before. That's big. Chartres, there's no crowd problem. It's an hour south of Paris. We have a tour that starts here, the Loire to the south of Paris tour. It's a lovely place, a lovely village, dominated by its cathedral, and featuring Malcolm Miller's great walking tours, the person, if you can get on one of his tours, to give you a lesson in medieval art and architecture. He'll read stained glass windows for you. He's Scottish, and he's a real reason to go make this day trip. He just does one tour a day now because he's getting into his 90s now, but he's still a great resource. Amazing. Yeah. And the village itself beyond the cathedral, which, by the way, is famous and became famous for housing the Veil of Mary, Mary's Veil. The village that surrounds it is lovely and maybe worth a night. And this is the hotel when Rick and I filmed here. We have a TV show out about Chartres as well. But from our $130 room, we had views side by side of the cathedral at night. Now, that room in Paris would be twice the price, probably. This town of Chartres is near Orly Airport if you're flying from Orly, but a great first or last night stop. Maybe if you don't want to stay in Paris, consider Chartres. Reims to the north in the opposite direction, vineyards, great cathedral again. Choose probably between Chartres and Reims because the features of both cities are great Gothic cathedrals. In Reims, R-E-I-M-S, that the French pronounce Reims, it's famous for the coronation place of all the French important kings over the centuries. It's a beautiful interior, much like Chartres, although different. But the reason people go here is to tour, of course, the champagne cellars, and Reims has no shortage of those for you to tour. They're quite pricey. It may be 25, 26 euros for a tour that includes a small tasting at the end, but they're interesting. Book ahead for most of these caves, particularly if you want one like Pomory here. They're hard to get into. Taittinger, you can show up and get into one of their caves. This is all in our book, both the France book and the Paris book. But you're smart to book ahead for the smaller, lesser-known champagne houses. This is a 45-minute day trip from Paris to Reims, thanks to the TGV bullet train technology, easily done, of course, in a day trip from Paris. I want to get beyond Paris now, and I've got 7 minutes to do it fast. So I'm going to hustle you down across into the Normandy area to show you the brilliance of this region, following the Seine River west into the home of Claude Monet, who who spent the last 40 years of his life cultivating his flowers and his art, and his gardens are there for you to see today. This works as a good day trip from Paris. It's about an hour and 20 minutes one way. It can work as a day trip or a stop on your way to the Norman coastline. Little Honfleur is the perfect antidote to jet lag. I encourage you to start here and get over jet lag here. It's a lovely little typical village with a Norman village. Thatched roofs, colorful half-timbered homes, a wood-only, built exclusively out of wood, Gothic church that if you turned it upside down would float probably, because they were shipwrights that built this and constructed much of the city. Honfleur has a lovely little Impressionist art museum as well, dedicated to Eugène Boudin. An hour south of there, beautiful coastline stands before you that looked entirely different 70 years ago. The D-Day beaches are powerful, an important site for most Americans to go to for obvious reasons. Here you'll see great museums, dedicated to this largest amphibian invasion ever. My favorite is the Utah Landing Museum. It is only 2 years old. It's built right over the site of a German bunker and into the sand, thank you, and where you'll find airplanes and models of ships and local guides on the D-Day beaches that I recommend highly because this matters to we Americans and Canadians, by the way. Good Canadian sites as well to visit that we cover in our guidebook. Started at Arromanches, where the artificial harbor was created, towing 115 huge cement blocks like this, size of football fields, and crashing them down to create this artificial harbor. They were supposed to last for a few years, and they're still out here. Within 1 week of building this artificial harbor, over 54,000 troops were offloaded, over 100,000 tons of material to support the liberation of Europe. It's a powerful site. All along the D-Day beaches, you'll see remnants of the guns that were used. Some that dotted the top of this cliff. Famous is the Pointe du Hoc, where the Rangers had to take to get rid of 6 guns, just like the one you saw, using grappling hooks and ladders from London Fire Department. It's gripping. The history is recent, the history is real, and Americans had a lot to do with it. The American Cemetery is a powerful site for any American going to the D-Day beaches. Here you'll find the graves, if you can see this, of the Nyland, 2 of the Nyland brothers, the feature from Saving Private Ryan. In this cemetery, in the entry now, a new museum has been created dedicated to the lives of the soldiers who lost their lives, for dying for people they would never meet. Walk down to the beach below the cemetery. It's powerful to be watching the waves crash on the beach. And consider a visit to the German cemetery for a sobering experience on the D-Day beaches. Most Americans would skip that. It's a powerful site as well. Bayeux, it makes a great base, just 6 miles inland, the first city to be liberated by the Allies in World War II. It's got a lovely cathedral the size of Notre Dame in Paris, but is most famous for its tapestries of 1066 dedicated to the Battle of Hastings. Well, William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, beat Harold to gain power of England and for 400 years throw England and France into a combined relationship that wouldn't be resolved until the 100 Years' War. An hour south of there, Mont Saint-Michel lies on Europe's largest tidal change. This area, by the way, is far easier by car than public transit. It's a headache by public transit, but you can do it. You have to be patient and diligent and trust my advice in the book and you'll do it. Mont Saint-Michel is a lovely destination, but arrive after 5. If you arrive before 5, you'll pay for it. Just like this, arrive after 5. Spend the night. Tour the Abbey late in the day or early in the morning, but spend the night so you can see every day of the year the floodlit Abbey looking brilliantly. Imagine people who go from 10 to 2 and only see these crowded people and places and never get to see it floodlit at night. Spend the night near or on the island to experience this miraculous place. Off to the Loire Valley with a few minutes left, 4 hours west or east and a little bit south of the D-Day beaches. This is the happy hunting grounds of French kings and queens, chateau land, in other words. You come here for one reason, like Chenonceau, and if ever you wanted to sleep in a chateau, this is the place probably to do so because there are 1,000 chateaux in this region, some of them converted to hotels, many of them surprisingly reasonably priced, and cozy as all get out. I list about 6 or 7 different chateau hotels in the Loire Valley. It's a popular place to ride bikes. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. I think it's okay, though, and if you're a real biker, then you'll love it. If you're not a committed biker, go to the vineyards and ride in the vineyards. That's easier, better. My favorite base in the Loire Valley, in the Loire, is Amboise. Here you see a city of about 10,000 people with its castle, a lovely village, and famous as the place where Leonardo da Vinci spent the last 3 years of his life. Who knew that? Under the tutelage of Francois I, the Renaissance king of France. You can visit his home, the Clos Lucé, and see the inventions of his crazy Roman candle of brilliance brainstorms in the basement of this of his home. Brilliant site, that is, Clos Lucé. Then get out and see the key chateau in the area. Chenonceau is the greatest of them all. Chenonceau arcs over the river Cher. Get there early. It opens at 9. Get there by 8:30. Trust me. Trust me. Get there by 8:30. It's a 15-minute walk into the chateau anyway. They let you in a little bit early and you'll have it to yourselves. Otherwise, it's a mob scene. And the rooms are small. Beautiful interior, beautiful gardens, great kitchen, and a lovely visit. The Chateau of Chambord, about 45 minutes away. You can do these on a minivan excursion bus too as well. Is the Chateau of Chambord, 440 rooms, 365 chimneys, a big place. It was the king's castle. He built it as a hunting lodge, right? Chambord doesn't matter. You can tour it in the middle of the day. It's big enough that the crowds aren't going to be an impact. So strategize your sightseeing that way.
Take 5 more minutes.
Can I? Wow, thank you, Rich. He gave me 5 more minutes. Well, I did have trouble with the clicker at the beginning, as you remember, right? Thank you. Chambord, King's Castle, 440 rooms I was mentioning. Why 365 chimneys? It's a hunting lodge. Hunting is done in the winter when the leaves fall off the trees. We need heat. The king brings a lot of his friends over. His friends are kings. They have big entourages. You need 440 rooms. You need lots of chimneys to keep them warm. There you are. A little bit of information goes a long way to explaining why does it look this way. You can climb to the top of the castle here and be like the French hunts and look at their ways out when they went on hunt and enjoy sort of the king's view, if you will, from below. I love the Chateau of Chavarny. This is an intimate chateau where the count still lives on the top floor with his family, and he's wild about hunting. It's one of the more beautiful interiors. As I mentioned before, intimate because it's much smaller, and because the count's family still lives there. You can hear them paddling in their PJs above you, and their bare feet sometimes on the top floor. But the big reason to go here, the fun reason, is it really evokes that hunting lodge thing with 80 bloodhound dogs who are fed every afternoon at 5 o'clock, 3:30 and this is truly an event that's not just for tourists, because the Count, we met him on our last filming show there, still hunts on several days a week and uses these very dogs. It's a great event to see, and you won't regret going here. Further away, an hour away, I'd use a second base of Chinon. I love this town on the Vienne River. Everything's on a river, it seems, in the Loire Valley. This is the feudal fortress that was famous as home to Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry II, whose one of 8 children was Richard the Lionheart, all whom lived here. This is a feudal fortress. It's not a palace from the day and age of those others that we've seen from the 16 and 1700s, is it? And so this is from the 1300s, and the town of Chinon that huddles kind of below makes a lovely base of operation to see these chateaux in the area. So you don't have to drive all the way back and forth from Amboise. The second base makes sense in the Loire. This area is known for its gardens, for chateaux with gardens like Villandry here. Beautiful chateau with gardens just like this. And Azay-le-Rideau, one of the most beautiful chateaux that floats on a reflecting pond. All right. I'm going to finish off in my Burgundy right now to take you to my region where I've decided to buy a house and settle down with my parents. Burgundy's famous for its Romanesque architecture, its sublime hillsides, its canals. It's sort of classic French. It has a little bit of all aspects of France, from chateaux to canals to great cuisine, of course. Escargot, beef Burgundy, etc. What else? Coq au vin and much more are famous from Burgundy. And some dishes you must try while you're there. Beaune is the capital. It's a lovely village of about 25,000 people. It's the wine capital, I should say. Vineyards go right to the village door, or the town's door front, and they're easy to tour. The famous site in Beaune, outside of the lovely walking streets in Beaune, is its hospice, or hotel, hospital, built in the 1400s to take care of people who were suffering from the plague or many other diseases. Right? And it is back in the days when the nurses were nuns, right? And doctors were barbers, because bloodletting was a popular event in those days. You can see the instruments they used. It looked more like caulking guns. As I toured this site with my father-in-law, who's a physician, he reminded me that you were better off being left outside of the hospital, because infection was something that hadn't yet been recognized, and they put 2 people per beds in the hospice. But it's a fascinating site anyway. Market days twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday in Beaune. Lovely market day that you should enjoy. Get out and ride a bike. This is the place where anybody should ride a bike. All those wine service roads are open to you, and easy, and short loops bring marvelous villages to your doorstep. It really is. Anybody can ride a bike in Burgundy. I list a good bike place to rent bicycles and tour. We list a variety of good, very friendly vintners in Burgundy that dispel that myth of the snobby winemaker. These are lovely people who love to turn you on to their wines, and they don't sell all of them. My last site to show you in Burgundy is of a site that you probably haven't heard of before I leave you today. This is the Castle of Guédelon. It's a castle that's being built right now, and it's taking 40 years to build, so that they can understand the castle techniques and learn as much as they can about medieval architecture. It's about an hour north of Beaune, hour and a half, and the goal is that picture you see right there, based on a design of Philip the Fair in the year 1200. Here you can go tour the site and watch them pull the rock right out of the quarry. If you ever wondered how a medieval building, a stone building, was built, go here. See them dress the stone, then raise it with the squirrel wheel. Now that tower is 40 feet tall. This image is like 5 years old. It's moving along. They've got 15 more years to build the castle. It's a work in progress with great guides. terrific educational opportunity for anybody going to Burgundy. The Castle of Guédelon, we've diverted 2 tours through. We think it's so important because it is such a unique learning opportunity. Imagine being able to see stone pulled out of the dirt and dressed into rectangular blocks and then housed into the wall just so. All of these sites that I brought to you today are covered in various books that we have on France, Paris. Our website updates our guidebooks. Things change fast. As soon as I get new information on something important, like the opening of the Picasso Museum, it goes on our website. So please, you refer to our website when you're traveling for the latest changes, the latest updates. You'll get all the information also on our website about our tours, but grab the catalog if you're interested in going on a tour. At some point in your life, I bet you find that worthwhile, and I hope you travel with us. Whether it's on a tour with these cool people or on your own with your favorite partner, I know you'll have a brilliant trip to France because of those waiters, not in spite of them. Merci beaucoup, everybody. I loved it. And bon voyage.